All right, so we are continuing with our reading study of Sri Brahma Samhita, the sacred text, purports by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we are in the middle of the purport for verse number 5. And we concluded with this point here that Krishna, because Krishna is actually incomplete by himself, inconceivably so. He's only complete when he is accompanied by his divine potency, Sri Radha. And he also comes to this realization because it's all living, right? Everything is dynamic. Nothing is static. Here we have this disease of having to know, right? But the higher souls, they don't know. They don't feel like they know anything. We always I like how my mother said it once, we always want to qualify or quantify. This is our human disease. We always want to qualify or quantify. I want to limit. One meaning of Maya, right, is measurements, to measure. So, but the higher souls, they don't know. If you ask them something, even in a mundane sense, if you ask a high school student about some mathematics question, they'll give you some, yes, I know, and they'll give you some standard answer. I guarantee you go and ask that same question to some professor at Harvard University, and they'll preface their answer by saying, well, we're not so sure about that. And then they'll what's the expression though? What's the word though? They'll talk your heads off for the next 3 hours, telling you why they don't know and what are all the current theories surrounding this issue, right? So it is always like that. Those of higher consciousness and higher knowledge, they don't know, but they're in the process of coming to know, and they're always in that process. So they're always seeking, they're always searching. It's an eternal state to be in the search for Sri Krishna, right? The search, Krishnanusandam, the search for Sri Krishna. This is a healthy condition of the soul. Srila Sridhar Maharshi says in one place, anything else in the soul is abnormal and unhealthy. Obviously, to have no interest in Krishna or to have forgotten Krishna, that is unhealthy. But then also to feel that, I have Krishna, I know Krishna, I have Krishna in my pocket. That is perhaps even worse. The Lord Brahma, right? Lord Brahma is saying, Najana, what is it? Not, how does it go? Not janantu eva janantu kimbahuk jana me prabhu manaso vapusho vacho vaibhavam tavagochara. That let whoever says they want to know Krishna, let them say so. As Srila Sridhar Maharshi says, let them dance their foolish dance. But as far as I'm concerned, mentally, verbally, bodily, with no faculty of my existence, am I able to touch Krishna in any way, shape, or form? This is my conclusion, he says. So this is the real feeling. So even Krishna himself, supreme divinity, he's searching after rasa, right? This is his this is his program. He wants rasa. Akila rasamita murti. He is rasa and he enjoys rasa. He likes to exchange rasa. But he observes that his beloved consort, Sri Radha, and his beloved devotee and servitor, she is actually tasting a superior rasa than he is. And we're singing this in Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Arati, glorious Arati song, Radha Rasa Joyo Swada, Ahasha Prayash, Dinaki Prafula Radha Mukhamana. That, Krishna, he's observing these rasas that she's tasting, these particular moods, sensations, particular flavor of ecstasy she's experiencing that he's not. And so he decides he must take her heart, take her mood, in order to experience what he by himself cannot. So he is searching after his own self. Atma Siddha Savalila. This is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Premadama Deva Stocham. Nityam Nija Namabi. Taking his own name, tasting that. So the Sridhar Maharaj gives this wonderful explanation of Mahaprabhu as this dynamo. He's tasting his own name, and this is creating joy. And when you are very joyful to the brim, then you must dance. And so he's dancing, and he's also expressing his own name as the outcome of his joy. And then the vibration of his name is giving more joy. So there's this circular movement here, intensifying and intensifying. Hearing his name is giving more joy. And then that joy is causing him to dance and chant his name more. And then hearing that vibration of his name, and it's like going on like this and intensifying and intensifying. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj therefore describes Mahaprabhu as the supreme expression of the absolute rasa. He is complete. And what is that completeness? He's always searching. So the highest conception of completeness is to be searching after completeness. This is a very peculiar thing. Fulfillment, right? The highest conception of fulfillment is to be intensely seeking after fulfillment, because otherwise it will be stagnant, otherwise it will be static. So there must be some surge, there must be some aspiration, asha. No, otherwise we're like dead people, and we want to live on this aspiration. So then we're hearing this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Damodar Goswami. And so then maybe we can continue with our reading then. So we're on page 30 in the book. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshor Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Vipa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so maybe I'll just start off with this Sanskrit. It is also stated in the Vedas, Rahasyam Teva Disyami Janvi Tire Navadvipe Go Lokakye Damni Govindo Dvibhujo Goda Sarvatma Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Trigunatita Sattvarupo Bhaktim Loke Kashyatiti Tad Ete Shloka Bhavanti Eko Deva Sarvarupi Mahatma Gora Rakta Shamala Shweta Rupas Chaitanyatma Savai Chaitanya Shaktir Bhaktakaro Bhaktido Bhakti Vedyaha. If you want to pick up the reading from there, Giridhari or Supriya.
Okay.
Let me divulge this mystery to you. On the bank of the Ganges, in the holy abode of Navadvip, the selfsame Golokadam, Govinda Gauda Chandra, appears in human feature. He is the soul of all souls, the Supreme Lord, the great saintly personality, the great sannyas, who is the embodiment of pure existence, transcendental to these three qualities of material nature. He reveals pure devotion to the world. He is the Lord, one without a second, the embodiment of all aspects of the Absolute, the Supreme Soul and Avatar through the ages in golden, red, black, and white hues. He is directly the Supreme Personality of divine cognition, replete with all transcendental potency. He advents in the feature of his devotee. He is the bestower of devotion, and he is knowable by devotion. In many scriptural references, such as, do you want to say?
Asam Varnas Traya Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Yada Pasya Pasyanti Rukma Varna Mahaprabhurvani, etc.
Gaurachandra is established as identical with Krishna. Yet the golden form in which he graciously appears in the eternal abode of Navadvip, identical with Goloka, where he is ever devoted to tasting the nectar of the divine pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, that golden Gauda form also appears in every one of these Vedic statements. As by the potency of Yogamaya, or the current of Krishna's internal personal potency, his birth and other pastimes occur in Gokula, localized in the earthly plane. Similarly, by the same potency of Yogamaya and the golden Lord Gauda's advent from the womb of Mother Sachidevi, and all his divine pastimes occur in Sri Navadvip Dham, in the earthly locality. This divine truth is an axiomatic principle of spiritual science and not a figment of the imagination subordinate to Maya, the deluding potency.
Ouch, that last sentence sounds like a burn. This to making very Bhaktivinoda Thakur is like unapologetically establishing this point. This divine truth is an axiomatic principle of spiritual science and not a figment of the imagination subordinate to Maya, the deluding potency. Very clearly stating this. And, it also makes you think, well, how many so-called truths or half-truths or relative truths that we are acquainted with, that we identify with, are, within the jurisdiction of Maya, right? Subordinate to Maya. To think about that, in the course of one day, like how many of these types of lower truths, right, are we identifying with on a moment by moment basis, right? That I am this body, right? That I am this skin, I'm whatever, I am this disease, I am this person in the mirror, I am this ego, right? I am this anger. So many things, or so many social, political events in the world, right, that we may identify with, or so many cultural phenomenon that we may identify with, right? So many, 1,000,001 things, right, in the course of one day. But here, what we're hearing here, this is of another category. So hearing these texts, it is like taking a bath, purified. We're very fortunate if we can do that. In one way or another, we can do that once or twice in our day. Take a bath in this type of truth. We are blessed souls if we can do that. And then, the rest of the day we go on with our nonsense, but then we can take a bath again. And then what's happening is then there's some cracking, right? Because these Mayic conceptions, it's like there's a shell around us. But through our hearing, Shravan, Kirtan, hearing and chanting, that shell starts to crack a little bit. There's some light, shards of light breaking through. Then we start to identify less and less with these things. And we may, on some level, we're still identifying with these external things, but at the same time, we know there's another part of us at the same time that knows this isn't really who I am. Or we may engage in some mundane activity, but our full enjoyment is not there. We're not getting full satisfaction there. We're just, this is some out of habit, I'm doing this, but I'm not really getting any thrill out of this. This isn't really what I want to be doing. But it's just some habit. My brain, my ego have been wired. My body, my senses have been wired to engage in this particular activity. So I'm going along with it, but I'm not really enjoying it anymore. Nirvina sarva, how does it go? Nirvina sarva karmashu. That what's that line to It's in these Bhagavatam verses mentions that the stage the soul will move through, where they become totally indifferent or even disgusted. And Veda dukhatmakam kama. And they also know them to be the abode of suffering. However, parityagye pyanishvara, they cannot give them up. We cannot give it up immediately. We know it's suffering. We're not even interested in it anymore, but we cannot give it up right away. So there's that middle phase, right, that we go through. So anyhow, we're going a little off topic here. We're reading about the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, non-different with Krishna, and reminded of Ananda Krishna is going through these first verses of Prapana Jivanamrita, and the third verse is expressing, this is one of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's original verses. Is also describing what Bhakti Vinod is discussing here. And Guru Rupa, very beautiful verse. Guru Rupa Harim Goram Radha Ruchi Ruchavitam Nityam Nomi Navadvipe Nama Kirtanan Artanai. That taking this heart and halo of Srimati Radharani. Krishna is appearing in Navadvip Dham, as Shri Gora, and chanting and dancing, taking the holy names. Okay, and establishing the divinity of Mahaprabhu, non-different Krishna, and scriptural references, and so on. Okay, well, does anyone have any comments or questions on verse 5 or the purport before we move on to verse 6? And nice to see the others who came a little late. Marie, Krishna Keshava, Prabhu came, Dandavad. Okay. Well, then we can go on to verse number 6. Suvasaniji, did you want to chant that for us? And
okay, yeah. Evam Jyotirmayo Devaha Sadhanandaha Parat Paraha Atma Ramasya Tasyasti Prakrityana Samagamaha. Translation: that Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme personality of Godhead, the one self of eternal ecstasy. He is beyond the purview of mundanity. He ever enjoys in the all-conscious spiritual realm. He is never associated with a beguiling, mundane nature.
beguiling.
Beguiling.
Means
okay.
like bewildering. Bewildering.
Okay, thank you. Purport. Krishna's exclusive divine potency, his own personified potency, has manifest the pastimes of Goloka or Gokula. By her grace, the jivas who are of the marginal potency may also enter into those pastimes. The secondary external Maya potency, who is like the shadow of that divine Chit potency, is situated on the far lower shore of Viraja river, which is at the lower limit of the Brahman plain. And the Brahman is situated at the lowest boundary of Mahavaikuntha, which is the surrounding locality or outskirts of Goloka. In the face of such infinite purity, the external Maya potency feels ashamed to appear in Krishna's view, to say nothing of taking his association.
Any comment, Didi, or anyone else?
Mhm.
I have a comment.
Yes, Giridhari Prabhu.
Just that Yoga Maya feels ashamed to appear in Krishna's view.
Oh, this is Mahamaya.
Mahamaya?
Hmm. She
Oh, no, Yoga, sorry. Mahamaya. I misspoke. It's Mahamaya, right? She's on the outside, right? The external. And it just seems to me it's a little bit similar to our situation. She's on our side. Although I was thinking Mahamaya is also empowered by Krishna, and she's doing her duty as Mahamaya. So I don't know if there's something you can speak about. That would be nice about that.
Oh wait, sorry, I missed the exact point you were making there.
It's a subtle point, I suppose. But seeing that Mahamaya is keeping us in illusion, and it's her job. Krishna's given her that job, and she's on our side. She's, how does it say? She feels ashamed to appear on Krishna's side beyond the Viraja, and she's ashamed to be over there. And I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of like our position. We're just here. We don't have any entrance there. Is kind of like our feeling, like like this, because we're under Mahamaya's direction, you could say. So, I mean, the question is like, oh, since Mahamaya is under the direction of Krishna, she also has that connection, right? Like you were saying earlier, maybe she's searching for something, but she has some feelings of being ashamed to go there because she knows something about it, you could say. But like, what is like the difference between us as our position as being nothing and Mahamaya's position as she's showing her shameful attitude to, go to the other side, to the divine side?
Well, I guess because she feels like she's doing such a dirty job. I mean, the difference is that like we're prisoners, we're criminals, and she's the warden, right? She's the warden, she's the intendant of the prison. But not only that, she's also tempting us to be criminals, right? Because that's part of her job,
I like that analogy because the warden also lives in the prison.
Right.
He lives in the same area.
Right. The warden is still living in that type of atmosphere. That's a very heavy, intense job. It's not a very like prestigious, cushy, honored job, right? That's like the dirty business, right? The job no one else wants to do. Like it's like I always think about the people who take the trash out. It's like somebody's got to do it, and they don't get paid that much. It's like, man, you got to respect that. So she feels embarrassed because she doesn't, like, logically speaking, there's no reason for her to feel ashamed. She has a role to play. She's fulfilling a necessary duty in the service of the Lord. It's like quality control, right? Like preparing souls, for returning or going to their true home. They have to go through some examination, some process before that, right? So she's doing that, and that involves some tests, some trials, some temptation and correction, and she's doing that out of duty. But because she's a Vaishnava, by nature Vaishnavas are humble, so she feels some shame that she's doing such a dirty job. She feels some shame about that. That is the nature of the Vaishnavas. Lord Shiva also, you see in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he's embarrassed, because he's sometimes he gets involved in movements against Krishna, right? Because he's the deity of many demons. Many demons worship him, And sometimes he gets himself in some complicated situations where he's going against Krishna. And actually it's all serving the Lord's purpose. You know, and our Gurudev in this regard, in regards to Lord Shiva, he quoted this from the Chatur Shloki of Srimad Bhagavatam. How does the verse go? But saying that it uses this phrase directly and indirectly. You know? So some things are directly supporting the Lord's Leela, and some things are anvaya vyatade kavyam. Some things are directly supporting the Lord's Leela, some things are indirect, right? And so Lord Shiva's role is like that, you know. Sometimes he's, you know, he's in the opposition group, you know, but you know, indirectly enhancing the Lord's Leela. But because he's a Vaishnava's their mood is to be humble. And he's feeling some shame about that. Like, oh, I'm going against you sometimes. What type of low position am I in? That is his feeling. And so Maya also.
Mahamaya is also like, you know, he keeps the prisoners as like the warden keeps the prisoners inside, but if she can also let them out, right? Because of if the prisoners are, you know, she sees, like as you said, the quality control, right? So she can also let the prisoners out, and she can keep them.
But she's not acting independently, is she?
Yeah, not independently, of course. Yeah.
When she gets that nod from Nityananda Prabhu.
Yeah.
You know.
Or taking shelter of the Lord, like Devi Hiesham Gunamayi, like Krishna said, one, because Mama Maya Dhurate, it's very hard also to, you know, very, very not easy to overcome that. But
Yes,
want to take shelter of the connection with the higher, like Krishna, then she can let them out.
When she gets a word from her boss, then you can let this person go now. There's that line of Bhakti Vinod in that Kobe Hobe Bolo, that song, right? Like Kobe Nityananda More Diya More. This when will Nityananda, right? How does it go? Do we have a kirtan guy? I don't remember that. Kobe Nityananda More Nije. Thank you. But it expresses this, like, when will Nityananda give me shelter? And thereby, you know, Maya will. Let me find that. Let's see. 182. This is a beautiful song. Kobe Hobe Bola said, here it is. Kobe Nityananda More Koridoya Chadai Bemoda Vishoyera Maya. When will Lord Nityananda be merciful to me and release me from the illusion of worldliness? So by the grace of Guru, right? By the grace of Nityananda, we will be released from this. So, I don't know, does that address what you were bringing up, Kirikari?
Yes, it does. And it also makes me think like, oh, so Mahamaya actually has some association with Nityananda. If she has to get the call from Nityananda to release this person, there's some more direct connection.
Sure, sure. They're all working together. Yeah, absolutely. What did you say? They meet in a conference room? In a couple you. And another thing about this verse is, we take all this for granted, right? We've been schooled in the Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead conception, right? But for many people, that's not the case. So this verse is making, and it's an important thing to establish once you're approaching the aprakrita Leela of Krishna, the human-like Leela of Krishna, right? That it is appearing to be ordinary, it is appearing to be mundane, but it is not. So this verse is making it unequivocally clear that Krishna is far beyond anything of this mundane plane. So he is never associated with the beguiling mundane nature. He's beyond the purview of mundanity. He's always playing in that all-conscious spiritual realm. Everything you hear about Krishna is happening on a divine platform. This is being made extremely clear from the beginning. So that's another point here. And then Yoga Maya in the purport, it is slightly confusing because Yoga Maya isn't mentioned by name, but it's referring to the Lord's divine potency. Now she's like overseeing, managing this divine Leela, and by her grace, the jivas may also enter that plane. But currently we are under the jurisdiction of Mahamaya on the other side. Okay, well, that's quite a short verse and short purport. Does anyone have anything else to bring up? Should we go on to the next verse?
Mahamaya and
Mahamaya
are two different entities.
Mahamaya and Yoga Maya. Well, you can say that, Mahamaya is an expansion of Yoga Maya. Yeah. But yes, generally they're conceived of as they are two different beings, yes. Mahamaya is ruling over this lower worldly plane, and Yoga Maya is, she's like, I like to think of her as like a stage director, in the Lord's eternal pastimes, like that. She also has this deluding power where but she's causing this forgetfulness. She's serving this important purpose of causing the souls of Krishna's eternal pastimes to forget that he is Krishna. Because that would spoil things. Then there would be too much awe and reverence, too much respect, too much honor. It would spoil things. So she's causing this forgetfulness there. It is the plane of jnana shunya bhakti, knowledge-free devotion. Their devotion to Krishna is not constricted by awareness that he is God. They're simply loving him because he's so wonderful. They're serving him because he's so wonderful, and so on. Not because of any awareness that he is this divine being, right? So that is her role. Yeah. So yes, to Mahamaya and Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya is overseeing the eternal plane, eternal Leela. And Mahamaya is ruling here. Okay, so going on to verse 7. Mayaya Ramamanasya Naviyogas Saha Atmana Ramaya Vreme Tyakta Kalam Shishikshaya. Marie, do you want to read for us?
Need to unmute for that. Okay. Krishna is the indifferent predominator of the external deluding nature, Maya. He does not consort with external Maya, yet Maya is not wholly separate or divorced from the supreme absolute truth that is Krishna. In his will to create the world, oops, I scrolled when I didn't mean to. In his will to create the world, he unites with his own transcendental potency, Rama, and his enjoyment in the form of casting his glance, which is the dispatching of his potency of time, which is the dispatching of his potency of time, is purely indirect. Okay, I did the intonation on that wrong somehow.
Well, there's a lot going on in that sentence, so you're forgiven.
Yeah. Well, should I read the purport and then come back to that, or should we try to tease that out now?
Oh, let's keep reading for now, yeah.
Okay, Krishna does not directly associate with the Maya potency. His relationship with her is only an indirect hint of association. He glances at the Maya potency through the agency of, or in the form of, his predominative descent or Purushavatara, Karanarnavai Shai
Yes.
Vishnu. Yeah. Mahavishnu, that's easier to say. Who reclines on the causal ocean. Karanarnavashai Vishnu is a plenary portion of Mahashankarshana of Vaikuntha, and Vaikuntha is the plenary abode of Krishna. Nor does the Lord associate with Maya even by that act of glancing, since the divine potency, Rama, as his unfailingly loyal potency, carries the function of his glancing. The external Maya, as a maidservant of Rama, engages in the service of the Lord's plenary portion, united with Rama, and the current time is the supernatural power of Rama that accomplishes the work, and thus the predominant influence in the universal creative power. Okay, I think that started the work of teasing out that one sentence.
Yes. Yes, I mean, this is a very esoteric subject matter. What can we say, it's being established here, Krishna, the distinction of Krishna, that he is, fully elevated, has no touch of this mundane plane. And even in the creation of this plane, he's not directly involved, but his, an expansion of his expansion, right? Mahavishnu, he's just glancing, right, towards this mundane energy. And then it's also, I mean, we could actually just go on to the next verse, because the next verse is elaborating more on this point, and also explaining Lord Shiva's role, how Lord Shiva takes the form of that glance and impregnates the mundane energy.
Can I chime in really quick on one tiny thing?
Please, Jayadev, I always want to hear from you, but when your camera's turned off, I assume that you're not available.
I'm in a sketchy Wi-Fi zone, so I'm not sure if you can even hear me now. It's
We
kinda
can
sketchy.
hear, yeah, we can.
I just wanted one really quick Sanskrit clarification point, because it's something how do I explain? It's not a pet peeve, but it's something like just the difference between Rama and Rama. Could you explain that? Because it's a really
Can you
important
explain
difference.
that?
Or, well, I'll just, Rama is normally Ramachandra, sometimes the name of Vishnu, and sometimes Balaram, and Rama is Lakshmi Devi. Rama, usually.
Right. Yes, that is correct. Anything else you want to say on this subject matter? These are very fine points here. I'd love to hear some input from your good self.
All right, if Wi-Fi is working, I actually had something to say on the last one. This is just last night.
Oh no,
was,
you're breaking up. No.
Yeah. Oh well. Not meant to be.
Okay, well, we'll have to hear from you next time. So yes, well, good thing Jayade pointed that out because that may be confusing for some. Yes, Rama with the long A at the end. This means female. And you'll see also there are other names like that too, like Krishna. Krishna, if you with a long A on the end, that is a female name. Like Draupadi, she's also one of her names is Krishna.
And it's a long A when it has that.
A line over the top, yeah, at the end, yeah. So the creation, right, is being described here. And how that takes place and how Krishna remains wholly removed from this whole process. But we can continue because this is actually explained further in the next verse. So can go on here. So going on to verse 8. Niyati Sadama Devi Tadpriya Tadvasham Tada Taulingam Bhagavan Shambhur Jyoti Rupa Sanatanaha Yayoni Sapara Shakti Kama Bija Mahadhare. So this line here is quite well known. Our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj quoted so many times this phrase here, Tau Lingam Bhagavan Shambhu. This linga, right? This is the form of Lord Shiva, which actually is divine male organ, Lord Shiva, that is worshipped in India. So Shambhu, right? This is Lord Shiva, he's taking the form of this glance and he's impregnating the divine energy. So translation, that indirect association with Maya is being described. There's someone else. So what about Steve? Do you want to read?
Mute. That indirect association with Maya is being described. The personification of the transcendental potency of the Lord, Brahma Devi, is destiny, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord. At creation, the appearance of the effulgence of the portion of Krishna's plenary portion is Bhagavan Sambhu, the manifest male organ of the divinity, the reflection of the eternal effulgence. Subject to the potency of destiny, that male symbol is the portion of the absolute responsible for the generation of the material world. The reproductive potency that evolves from destiny appears as the female organ, the embodiment of Maya, the inferior potency. The union of these organs brings forth the existence of the Mahat Tattva, which is only a reflection of the Supreme Lord Hari's original seed of desire, Kama Bija. Purport. Being endowed with the creative desire, the plenary expansion of Krishna, Sankarshana, takes the initiative in bringing about the creation of the mundane world. Taking the form of the first predominative descent, Purushavatara, he reclines on the causal waters and casts a glance at Maya. That glance is instrumental in the cause of the creation. The twilight image of that reflected effulgence of the Almighty is effectively the organ of generation, Shambhu, which unites with the reproductive paraphernalia of Maya, the shadow of the Rama potency. Then the reflection of the original seed of desire, Kama Bija, emerges as the Mahat Tattva, the great or universal seminal principle, and engages in the creative function. The initial manifestation of the desire created by Mahavishnu is known as Hiranimaya Mahat Tattva. It is the mental principle of readiness for universal creation. The inner conception here is that assuming both the instrumental and efficient causes, Nimitta Upadana, the will of the predominator or Purusha creates. The instrumental cause is personified as Maya, who represents the female reproductive organ. The efficient cause is personified as Shambhu, who represents the male generative organ, and Mahavishnu is the predominator or the inaugurator by his will. The primordial ingredients or substance, pradhana, is efficient, while the female receptacle principle, prakriti, is Maya. And the willing factor that unites them is the manifester of the illusory mundane world, the predominator, Purusha, who is a plenary expansion of Krishna. These three form the agency of universal creation. The original seed of desire, Kamabija, that exists in Goloka is pure transcendental cognition. And the seed of desire that exists in the material world is a manifestation of the shadow potency personified as Kali and other forms. Despite being the prototype of Maya, the original seed of desire is infinitely distant from Maya. The mundane seed of desire is an illusory reflection. The process of Shambhu's birth is described in verses 10 and 15. That was a lot.
Yeah. Many things here. And one interesting point which is coming out here is that everything has its origin in Goloka, right? Everything has its origin there. And here there's some shadow or perverted expression of that, but everything has its origin there. Everything has its transcendental expression, right? So I don't know. I don't feel qualified to comment anything that we just read. Just for me, one of those things you read and say, okay, no objection here. Good to know. This is like a kind of like a spiritual equivalent of learning about the birds and the bees. Right, yes, that's all I have to say, Marie saying. Nothing more to say. Yes. Okay. All right, then we'll go on. We still have a few minutes left. Let's do verse number 9. Suvasini, did you want to read this?
Okay, yeah. Lingayon Atmika Jata Ima Maheshwari Praja. 9. Translation. The world's entire progeny in Maya's kingdom is the embodiment of the sexual union of male and female organs. Purport. The sovereignty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead covers the entire 4 quadrants of the infinite majesty of God. Lamentation, death, and apprehension are absent in the 3 quadrants of the Lord's majesty that are the divine abodes of Vaikuntha, Goloka, etc. In this illusory world, all beings from gods to man, etc., along with all the planes of existence are under the reign of Maya. Here, all that be is efficiently and instrumentally generated, that is, born of sexual union. With all the discoveries of material science, everything knowable is of sexual origin. Trees, plants, and even insentient beings are all produced by the union of male and female.
I'm sorry, yeah, I really like that line, that point there. Like with all the great advancement of science, right? We still come back to this. Everything's still originating from that.
Yeah. It deserves mention here that although the allusion to male and female organs presupposes a kind of vulgarity. In a scientific context, the exposition based on the principle of sexuality is most appropriate and excellent for its profoundness in illustrating elementary principles. The vulgarity felt is nothing more than the concept of social formality, but science and transcendental science cannot compromise the element of truth with mere social formality.
Very nice.
So the application is indispensable in expounding on the primordial principle of the material world, that is, the illusory seed of desire. The predominating potency or masculine active potency and the female potency or predominated active potency are all that is to be understood by the use of such terms herein. Okay.
Beautiful language. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is articulating himself in such a dignified way and clear and unapologetic. So nice. So nice. Well, we still have a few minutes left. Should we read a little bit more? Krishna Keshava Prabhu, you want to read something?
I would, but I honestly don't know where we are right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll read them. We are in verse 10 though, of Brahma Samhita.
Okay, thank you.
Shaktiman Purusha Soyam Linga Rupi Maheshwaraha Tasmin Navir Abu Linge Mahavishnu Jagatpatihi. Maheshwar Shambhu, the male principle of the efficient cause representing the primal male organ, is united with the instrumental cause represented by his Maya potency. Mahavishnu, the Lord of the universe, partially advents within him by the casting of his glance. Purport: Sri Narayan, the non-different from Krishna, presides in the Paravyom, the area of the spiritual world predominated by majesty and reverence. Maha Sankarshan is one of Sri Narayan's quadruple expansions or Chaturvyuha. So even he is a plenary portion of Krishna's Narayan form. This word plenary, it means like of equal power. Is that Marie? You're familiar with that word?
A meeting or session. I don't know.
It always comes up, and
It comes up so much.
Yes. It was a word that Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada chose to use, and it seems like it stuck.
Be attended by all participants at a conference or assembly. No, that can't be it. What other definitions? Unqualified, absolute. Okay, that makes sense.
So plenary is a portion, right?
Well, he's saying a portion that is plenary. That is.
I think it also means like fully authorized or fully empowered by the entity that it is an agent of, something like that too.
That's what I'm getting looking at the dictionary definitions, is that like it may only be a partial manifestation, but it's a partial manifestation that is fully empowered.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
I'll have that meeting attended by the assembly definition.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Ananda's been writing out definitions, so he wrote out plenary, but yeah, he got the first one, which doesn't quite work.
Yeah, that one doesn't quite work in this context, but the others do sort of apply.
Yeah.
update that.
Yeah, update that. Okay. So Maha Sankarshan is a plenary portion of Krishna's Narayan form. By his spiritual potency, Maha Sankarshan's plenary expansion eternally reclines on the Viraja river, which is situated at the point midway between the transcendental world and the mundane world. So the Vireja River, if we go back to our map, it's like that's just before the purely concentrated plain of Brahman. So it's on our side, on our side of the, you know, of the pond. So if we're thinking of it in like a linear, conventional geographic sense, to help our own limited minds have some level of comprehension, then you hit the Vireja River exiting, you know, the mundane universe. And before you hit the plane of Brahman, concentrated light consciousness. So it's on the lower side, you could say. And at the time of universal creation, he casts a glance at the distant Maya, distant shadow Maya potency. At that moment, the reflection of the intrinsic form of Godhead in the form of his divine glance, Shambhu, the Lord of the Pradhan or primordial material elements, the energy of which is personified by his Rudra form. So Rudra is referring to a lower aspect of Shiva, right? That is within the relativity of the mundane plane. Unites, okay, I'm going to read the sentence again from the beginning. There's a lot going on here. At that moment, the reflection of the intrinsic form of Godhead in the form of his divine glance, Shambhu, the Lord of the Pradhan or primordial material elements, the energy of which is personified by his Rudra form, unites with the mundane instrumental cause Maya, but he is unable to act without being empowered by Mahavishnu, who represents the direct divine power of Krishna. Therefore, the material seminal element, Mahatattva, can come forth only when Krishna's plenary expansion, that is, the primal avatar Mahavishnu, who is a plenary portion of Mahasankarsham, who is a plenary expansion of Krishna, sanctions the mutual function of Shiva's Maya potency and the efficient causal primordial material elements. With Mahavishnu's sanction, the Shiva potency progressively creates ego, ahankar, and the 5 basic elements, panchabhuta, of ether, etc., the subtle form of their attributes, sense objects, tanmatra, and the mundane senses of the conditioned soul. The individual souls or jivas emanate as particles of the rays of the effulgence of Mahavishnu. This will be elucidated later in this commentary. Wow. Okay. Well, I really feel like I'm back at school. I don't really have any comment here. Anyone else want to add any comment? I don't know if I can answer any questions on these points. And there's
I don't think I could comment on this without like spending an hour talking about Genesis and Romans and the Trinity. So like, this is, I need time on this.
But a lot of technical information, I'd say, a lot of technical information here. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he goes into some discussion of this in Subjective Evolution of Consciousness, which is concerning the creation. He elaborates on this, you could say. So if anyone is interested to explore this subject matter more, then I would point them in that direction. There's a chapter at the beginning, I believe it's called The Creation. Srila Sridhar Maharaj discusses further in these points about the ego and different material elements, and all very fine, esoteric, technical points concerning the creation. So All I can say is no objection. Duly noted. So we can conclude there. But it's nice, just to have this type of clear elaboration and all, even if at least I for myself cannot fully comprehend. I don't have a scientific brain, but it's nice to have exposure to this, right? Okay, well, we can stop there unless anyone else wants to add anything before we end for today. Subhasini ji, any final words?
No, nothing really. That's so much.
We have Srinath here. Speaking of scientists, Srinath, he's a real scientist. Subhasini's son. Hello, Srinath, Dandavad. How are you?
Didi, I'm okay. Existing.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
How's everything going?
I don't know.
I want you to meet one of our new friends. This is Nanda. This is Srinath. I think I told you about the son of Subhasini.
But
And also Kanu Priya Didi is here. She's our leader in Hungary. Subhasini's son. All right. Well, we'll close there for today then. And look forward to next week. Hope you all have a wonderful days ahead. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Shri Bhakti Rakshita Deva Goswami Maharaj ki Jai
Jai.
Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Shri Jai
Jai.
Brahma Samhita ki Jai. All these
Jai.
devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai.
Jai.
Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Prem.
Hari Bol.
Haribo.
Vishaka Dedi ki jai.
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 Jai.